want to talk to you today about the day I found out at 62 I no longer had a job. Now, I always knew it was coming, but I just didn't know when. We kind of had an idea that there's been some rumblings over the last couple of years about DEI, and we all braced ourselves in the government because after November 6th, we knew that there were going to be major changes. But what we didn't expect was that our agency would be totally shut down. That was so surprising for us because it was an act of Congress. It required Congress to actually close it down. But it did. And so I had to ask myself, what's next? What are you going to do now? Because I had a 5-year plan that said I was going to move to Panama in 5 years. So do I look for a job in this tight job market where I've already been watching people on LinkedIn flooded with open for work on their profiles, where I heard all the stories of people saying it was taking them 18 months to look for a job? Or do I now implement the plan that I've been working on now? Do I now say, this is the time? Why in 5 years, why not now? And so I did. I packed up my house totally. I loaded it, stuck it somewhere, all my stuff, in a garage, and I boarded an airplane and came to Panama, a country that I knew I always wanted to live in, although I had never been there before. I came. And when I arrived, it didn't look like what I expected, not at all. I did not expect to see as many modern buildings and high rises. I really didn't even expect that I was going to be able to use my credit cards and debit cards everywhere I went, and did not expect that I would be using the US dollar every day. So that was a pleasant surprise. But also what surprised me was that as I was looking for an apartment, because I thought, well, you know what? You have a bunch of stuff, bring that stuff, put it in storage, go back, hang out with some friends for a couple of months, and then come back and start in January. Just find an apartment now and hold it down. Didn't realize that's not how it works here. That you actually, when you see that apartment, it's available then, and they're not holding it for a couple of months for you, unless you're paying. And so that was kind of a surprise, but I guess people kept asking, why Panama? Why Panama? Well, I always knew that Panama had a large Black African-American expat community. And I knew that they also spoke Spanish. And so I had been taking Spanish since high school, well, let's say since elementary school. And so I felt like, yeah, I had some familiarity with the language. I also knew that there was a huge community where I can tap into expats because, you know, this is not my first rodeo of moving to another country. And when I lived in other countries, it was that American base that also sometimes would get you through the most loneliest times. So I was looking forward to that. I also knew that it was affordable, that while I hadn't been here, I had learned enough to know that it was not going to cost me the same as my DC, my Maryland lifestyle. I knew for sure it was going to be less. And so I had that information and I knew it was going to be hot. And one of the things I kept dreaming for my retirement was locks, flip-flops, and tank tops. That was my theme I kept singing. And I knew Panama was actually going to be able to help me with that dream. So I took the leap. I came sight unseen, stayed in an Airbnb type of a place, and start settling down. Found me a place to live. And I realized while it wasn't planned, it was definitely doable. It was definitely something that I could shift to. Not because the 5-year plan was perfected, because I believed in myself. I believed that if I could live in so many other countries with less infrastructure, there was no way I couldn't survive here. I also knew that I had already some income streams that were coming in that would hold me over until I really figured it all out. And so that was my move. My move was, while it sounded totally blind, it was the experience of moving to countries like Nigeria, Ethiopia, working in countries like South Africa, Bulgaria, that gave me the confidence to say, you can do this. So I say, while it may have been to some a setback, I say it was a setup for me to implement my 5-year plan. So what are you waiting for? You can implement your plan as well. But before you start working on that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification button, and look out for the next video where I talk to you about what income streams I'm living off of to survive here and thrive here in Panama.